Good afternoon, everybody. Today is May 8th. I got my buddy Smitty on here today. We're going to be talking about building community. And please make sure to give Smitty a follow on X at Smith CPS1. Sorry, Smith CPS 01. That's Smith CPS 01. Make sure to sub to the channel, like, subscribe, comment, please. Show some love there. Also, give me a follow on X at MNBFY Pod on X. So, Smitty, yeah, we're going to talk about, just a quick intro. Like, I met Smitty on X, was introduced to one of his general chats. Smitty's been very helpful to me to learn and navigate communities in X and not just kind of be a lone wolf, and the importance of making connections with people, like-minded people that don't necessarily agree with you, but people that could help each other build a network. So, Smitty, do you want to kind of just take us from the beginning on like what got you into community building? And
yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to this today. So yeah, I've been back on X since approximately May of 2023. I had my original account dating back all the way to 2010. Didn't really do much with it until about 2015. Twitter at the time was my source of news aggregation. I always loved the fact that we got the news instantaneously, faster than any other source, from judging mainstream media and everything else. So I always liked that. Then I started following other alternative journalists that weren't necessarily in the mainstream. And that was the place to where they would always post. I was really big in, I still am. I'm still big in sports, follow my particular teams and all that. Sports journalism, whenever a breaking sports story would happen, X was where you would find out the tea before anything. But yeah, like going into 2015 when Trump threw his name in the ring when he went down the escalator, I actually started to get a little bit more vocal. That's when I finally started posting. Actually then started from being just an observant, non-participating account to where I started building up a following. And that account started to grow. I think I got it up to almost upwards of about 25,000 followers. But my account got suspended. It was a casualty when they had the mass exodus right before the 2021 inauguration. I think there was something like 1.5 million, 2 million accounts that got purged from Twitter at the time, and I was a part of that.
What were they purged? Like, was it just like blanket assumptions?
Anything that if you were anything quasi conservative, right-leaning, supportive of Trump at the time, it was like a mass exodus. They killed off a bunch of Anon accounts, which I still am, to an extent. And so they purged it. I tried to start a new account, which is this one in its current iteration, but this one also got quickly suspended under the ruse of ban evasion or something like that within a week. So then I went 2.5 years basically in read-only mode. Then when Elon bought the app in early 23.
Yeah, I think it was 23.
Periodically I would always I would submit an appeal just to try to get my account back. And I had done it probably 6 months prior to, but one day I just got a random email saying your account's been reinstated. And I was like, what the heck? So that was like very exciting. I was thrilled to be back. So with that being said, I've always been pretty careful in how I post. I go hard in the paint sometimes, especially when it was like in political season, and then I would go after liberals, and I would, I'd have fun shit posting, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I never got out of the bounds to where I would get in a position where I would get suspended like I had been.
Right.
but with that, I started really, I didn't do any of the follower trains or anything like that. I just I wanted to be a little bit more careful of how I grew this account. So it's been 100% organic in how I've grown. And it's just been through, at first it was like being the reply guy. I was replying to like bigger accounts, and then they would follow me, and then got into some of those larger accounts group chats, and was able to meet a whole plethora of really cool people in those group chats. This is 2023, going into 2024. At the same time, when I would scroll the Twitter app, I started seeing that upper Chiron cross, and I'm like, what are these things? And that's where I discovered X Spaces. And so I was like, okay, I want to see what all the hoopla is about that. And so I started joining just as a listener at first, but I started going into some of these bigger political spaces. Just got my confidence build, went from listener to then gradually I started talking on some panels as I got a little bit more confident in my speaking and all that. And it's just kind of, it's grown from there to where, I got pretty consistent spaces that I would go into. That's where I started to establish communities within the spaces sphere.
Right.
Start to get to know a lot of these people. They come to the spaces that you're in. With that being said, ultimately I started graduating to hosting my own spaces. And, they started out really small. I'd get 5, 6, 10 people in there. But now it's to the point now where, if I put a space on, if I run a space for 3 hours, it's pretty common where we get anywhere from 500 to in upwards of 1,000 people that'll come through the space. And so that's been really cool to the transgression from being just a listener, like a passive listener, to being a speaker on a panel, to then now starting to host and co-host spaces pretty regularly. And now it's to the point now where I get, DMs on the daily. You doing a space tonight? What are you guys going to be talking about today? And, we discuss a multitude of subjects, whether it be sports related. We can talk about geopolitics, the daily happenings of what's been going on in the news. We get into some of the conspiratorial subject matters.
Like the new aliens drop, the disclosures.
The disclosure topics. And but then we also just have our wild out, crazy, fun spaces where we just go full retard, and it's a free-for-all, and they're hilarious.
Those are the best ones, honestly. Those are my favorite spaces.
And so I like having the I'm not confined into just one topic or one area of focus, because you got people that all they want to do is political. Yeah. I like to be diverse in the topics that we discuss, but with that diversity, I'm a part of about 4 or 5 various communities within the X sphere. I'm part of the UFO community. I'm part of the sports community, part of the political community, part of like the frog main community, the guys that just do shit posts. They make the funny ass memes. But then, as I hosted spaces, you start to see all these communities merge together. And that is really cool to behold, because you got people that, they're typically only in the sports spaces, and they're just talking about their teams they root for, or college football for that matter. And then we might be hosting a space one night that's covering politics. And you start to really quickly find out, hey, I have a keen interest in this as well. Or you see some of these people that had strictly only talked about sports, but then they start delving into the political arena. And, various backgrounds, very diverse too, but you have really good conversations that drive it. And with those continued conversations, you really get to know a variety of people. And, that's been kind of my key focus, especially the last year, is like building out this community that I've established. I've had a group chat for better part of 3 years. About 6 months ago, I kind of reinvigorated it and kind of started fresh, just by popular demand. And it's been been really well accepted. Um, you're part of it. It's one of the most lively group chats that I've not that it's just because it's my own, but it's running 24/7, and then it's always active. And so there's a lot of people that are in that don't frequent spaces, but got to know them over the years. And yeah, it's really cool because, when we start a space now, I just put that in a group chat, and then, really quickly we'll get 30 or 40 people in a space. And it's just, it's become somewhat of like its destination. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people have replaced the TV, and they go to spaces. That's their preferred method of where they absorb and get the news. And it's having that common community. We're not taking our news sources from like these big grifter accounts or anything like that. We do our own research. We're gathering news as we see it. We dissect it, but then we discuss it. And it is a community. It is a community square forum, which I think a lot of people appreciate. The spaces that I run are always going to be open forum, where we want to have. I want everybody to share their thoughts in conversation. We try to do it respectfully. There's going to be times where people get heated. We'll have disagreements, but try to run a good room to where everybody can be respectful in that regard. And, if they can agree to disagree and move on without getting personal, that's my objective as a space host, is to run a good room, being able to read it at the same time, to try to avoid those pitfalls to where people just get in shouting matches, and then it gets personal, and it just goes off the rails.
Totally.
So
yeah.
So that's been kind of my Twitter X journey, if you will. And especially since the start of this year, 2026, my account has kind of taken off a little bit more in spades to another level. To I see accounts 10 times my size, and if they start a space, they can't get a fifth of what I get in my spaces now. So I guess that's just a testament to mostly the community that we've cultivated, and just keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting, and hopefully we continue that momentum and be destination content in the space sphere as we continue it. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at there.
Awesome, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, like for my journey, really, I've had my account since I think I don't even remember. I made it when I originally intended to do this podcast, and then life, and then I didn't. And then the events of last summer, there was just like so much crap that happened going into June. It was like Epstein files, and it was the war with Iran, then it was the Panikins thing. And I just was like, I needed an outlet. So I was like, I'm going to do this. So I get on there, and then, we have some mutuals that ultimately connected us together. But my initial experience with X was, joining different spaces, and then getting familiar with certain people that would join those particular spaces, but you never see them like deviate from like you were just saying, like a particular theme or subject matter, right? It's like you go to this one space, you always see like the same panelists, the same listeners, and it's always like some sort of political discussion, right? Or you go to another one, it's always people talking about like gray aliens and reptilians. versus like when I started coming onto your spaces. And one thing I noticed is like you said, the diversity of topics. And then when I joined your, like, this is, I'm not trying to toot your horn. I'm just like trying to, for the listeners, like kind of paint the picture of like how you can, like how you kind of put your community together, which I love it. Being part of it as well. Thank you for that. But it's just a bunch of different people that do not, do not agree on everything, but have mutual respect for one another. It's not like you're moderating anything either, like it's just free form. Everyone's just talking. But then you hop on one of your spaces and it's people that you see from all these other spaces are joining your space now. I've noticed that over the past couple months. I'm noticing like people that I saw would just stick with like, I don't want to say names, right? But let's just say like political commentary,
Sure.
etc. Like they're hopping over, to yours. I've seen like people I've seen on Groiper spaces, like, and I'm not saying that's like good or bad. I'm just saying like you imagine like these types of classify, you classify certain individuals, these archetypes, right? And then you're seeing all these folks join, a space where we're, I'm going to shout, if it's okay, I'll shout out the campfires you're doing with another friend of ours, Sandor,
Yeah.
that you co-host with, which I think is such a great space. And folks, if you're listening, please, on Thursdays, I think it's 4 p.m. Mountain time, so 6 p.m. Eastern. Every Thursday, there's an excellent space. It's for men. It's a campfire space where it's just like an outlet. You could tell your stories, and it's just so different because all the spaces you see are like Q shit. It's just like, yeah, I saw the new Q drop, and it's connected to, what Todd Blanche said. That's connected to Nancy Pelosi. It's like no one gives a shit about that. It's just like it's redundant. It's exhausting. But like the spaces that I see that the community that's around you, it, everyone talks about everything. And I've noticed that through time, people are feeling more comfortable talking about things they don't even understand, or like at least asking questions. And I think that is so important for us. That's how it was when we were in grade school, right? Like you had
Yeah.
your cliques, and then it was either you or a friend of yours that's like, yo, I'm gonna go over there to like the Beamer kids, like in the movie Clueless, and like people would just start integrating with each other, and you end up going to this one high school party where like everyone's that you never thought you would associate with, and you're kind of like in awe of it, and you're like, man, I never thought I'd be in the same place drinking a beer with this person. That's the vibe I get with the community as it's been evolving, right? Specifically around your like your orbit and the mutuals that you have
Yeah, and
is
I can expand on that a little bit.
please.
So as we've evolved in spaces, we back in early April, there's about 5 of us that are part of it. We named it Monitoring the Situation. That's our named space now. So when we have a targeted discussion or topic that we want to cover, we name our spaces Monitoring the Situation. And like I said, there's 5 of us that are part of that, and those have been really well received. That's encompassing. We started the men's space, and that was kind of an organic thing. There was one day that it was just during the day. I was like on a Saturday, but we opened up and we were just talking about men's issues. And I started asking some questions. I shared some of my personal stories, and that just kind of spiraled into a lot of people giving their shares from a place of vulnerability. And so now we've done 3 or 4 of them on Thursdays, and we've started our men's campfire space that has been very well received. As a byproduct of that, two of the ladies, they've started the same thing, but it's a women's focused space that occurs on Monday nights at same time, I think 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Monday evenings, let's put it that way. And those have been very well received. And that's kind of been our sweet spot of late, because I don't think that's a topic in both in respect to both sexes. And we invite we invite women to come to our men's space and give their shares. And with the women's space, we want men there too to give their shares. But it's part of the relationships, the relationship dynamic. What works, what didn't work, what are some areas that you can fall susceptible to. And like I said, they've been very well received. But in general, like just the whole monitoring the situation, since we've established our named space series that we're doing, has been very well received. And that's kind of where we've kind of taken it up a notch to how we do our spaces, how we plan them out. And we're communicating in the background of what's working, what's not, and maintaining that the flow of the conversation is going smoothly. And and I've gotten so much positive feedback from that. I think all of us that host and co-host the spaces are getting tremendous feedback, and it's been a welcome thing for a lot of people. So I've been very excited that we've started that.
No, man, I'm happy that they exist. They're different. They bring people together. Like I was saying earlier, and like you were saying, it's refreshing. Honestly, I feel like we live in in the world today, we live in our little boxes. And for me, when I got on, on Twitter X, I was I went in with just the sole purpose of like shitting on as many people that were like advocating for the war, right? And we're not going to get into that, Smitty. I'm just giving like the example, right? But like, or like the whole Epstein thing, and then by happenstance, I start connecting, like you said, like I was a reply guy myself, and that led to making connections with particular people. And it's good for people to make connections in general in life. And although you might think someone's in a non-online, you might find out that you have a lot of commonality with a lot more people than you think. You might think you're like in this little niche, and you kind of learn from my experience with the communities and on the spaces is we may disagree on 70% of things, but the 30% we agree on, we passionately agree on. And it's weighted in such a way that it is of more import to maintain that, that relationship, because that commonality is in my, I hate to say it's like it's benevolent, right? Like when we're all talking about, we have fears of, I think we did, you guys had a space a little while ago. It was probably one of my favorite ones. We're talking about like chemtrails and stuff, right? And like, you could be left, right, up, down, blue, purple, pink. It doesn't matter. If you genuinely have concerns about what the hell they're spraying in the sky, and you can come around that topic together, you're like, holy crap. Like, I may have seen this person, or I've talked to this person in the past. I can't stand them. You might think that, right? And then you're like, they have just as much passion about this topic as I do. And then
one thing that I've kind of tried to hone in as far as like building community is, once you recognize somebody, a personality, a profile pic, when they come in my spaces, I'll give them a shout out, and I try to make that personal connect. I'll see somebody, hey, how's your team going to do? How's your football team going to do this upcoming season? Hey, how's your crops growing? How are the grandkids? I try to make a personal reach to where they're not just a little pick in your space, and we're talking at them. I want to personalize that to realize that, hey, we hear you, your voice is heard, and we value it.
Right.
And I think that's been one thing that sets us apart. There's people that will kind of disappear. They take a hiatus from X, and then they'll come back around in our spaces. And, I'll remember the last conversation that we had. Hey, last time I talked to you, we said this, that, the other. And they're like, how'd you remember that? I'm like, I just remember these things. I've been in sales my entire career. And like, that's been one of those key drivers in making and harnessing relationships, is remember the individual, and if you can personify those things, then that establishes trust, familiarity, comfort to share.
Yep.
So when we talk about certain topics, such as men issues, we talked about addiction the other day, and
That was a great one.
that's not a comfortable topic to cover, and a lot of people were a little apprehensive to share some of their personal experiences, but we opened it up, and ultimately then we had a 3-hour conversation where we had, I think, almost 35 speakers, and everybody's share was amazing. And the more people that share, it resonates with more people, then they get the courage to come up and show their vulnerability, and we discuss it. And then people realize, hey, I'm not in this world by myself. In the physical realm, they may feel isolated, but the spaces is still an outlet for people to connect. And that's what's been really cool, a cool thing to behold, because that's where it's become like destination. Like some of the ladies on Monday, they were like, this was, they felt, I thought we lost a place where women could converse and we could all get together and discuss certain topics like that. And, it's the same thing on both sexes. Been very well received. And there's been some very powerful stories that were shared that, then I get a DM later or after the conclusion of it and said, man, the fact that I heard that story, it meant so much to me. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, they're saying thank you just for running it, for hosting it, for having these conversations, because then these people are realizing that, hey, you're not alone. There is a sense of community, albeit it's online, but it is a community.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, the way things have gone, we are in a more online world than we were, since the onset of COVID.
I was going to just bring that up.
And we haven't recovered from it yet. And,
Exactly.
people, we've changed our habits, and I'm guilty of that myself. But I used to be a social butterfly. I'd always want to go out and do things. Now, my preference is to stay in the house, and I'll get on Spaces or whatever. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that's just my mode of that's what my preference is.
I mean,
but
but
I think
it's
a lot
like
of
when
people
you,
are in that same boat, right?
dude, totally. I mean, like same. I was a absolute barbarian savage for most of my life up until a couple of years ago. Always partying, always going out, ever the socialite, always trying to meet random people. You go out to the bar, whatever, the lounge, the rooftop bar, and you're drinking and you're vibing and you're like just trying to make friends with people. And then COVID happened, and then those people that were brave enough to still go out, it was different. Everyone was just like in fear of people they didn't know, because like in the back of some people's heads, they're like, I might get sick from this random person. So like this decoupling of like human connection happened, right? And then what I found is on these spaces, a lot of people, I assume, went through the same things where they're like, fuck it, I'm not gonna go out anymore. There's no point to it. I could just go make a cocktail at home, with my friends or my wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And then you hop on some of the, like some of the spaces that you guys host, and like your, your mutuals, your circle, shout out to, some of the folks on the team with you for monitoring the situation. But yeah, it's like now that's where the human connection is like through our voices, which is where it always was anyway. Like it's through speech, through talking to one another is where you find connection with people, commonality, differences, compromise. And then ironically enough, yeah, it's like we're still separated from each other. We're not going out and meeting each other as often as we used to. But the connection, like I have found on some of the in some communities, through these discourses and conversations and spaces, because you also have a little bit more, I would say, like, you feel a little more comfortable because you're not like present, you're not physically in front of someone, like there's
Right.
less of an intimidation factor, right, Smitty? And so like people can be more vulnerable, more willing to open up. And like, man, like there was a conversation I had with a couple others. Shout out to Marquis. I have to shout her out because she stayed up. She kept the space open and went to sleep because couple other folks and myself were just having this like absolutely insane, like one of my favorite conversations I've had in like the last 5 years about spirituality. Just like we were all kind of like on the same page, discussing things, providing different perspectives. And those are conversations normally you have like with your best friends, like people you grew up with, not even people you're friends with for a few years, right?
And
But like,
that's the cool thing about spaces too, is we get all walks of life, and it's not, we have people that come in that are from all over the world.
yeah,
And a lot of people in their real life, they're living in areas where they can feel isolated because of their political ideology. They could feel isolated because they're not around other people of their age. Uh, and I'm not, like I said, we get a very diverse mindset in our spaces. So we're not. I don't want to say we're all like-minded, but
right.
but I think where we set ourselves apart is we're authentic, and we're down to earth, and we strive to be respectful. We can have fun, but as long as we can do those three things, I think people can see that, and it sticks out. Where we're not just some host that's preaching to the choir, saying you need to hear what I say because I'm the smartest guy in the room. No, we value everybody's opinion, and let's have a discussion about it.
Totally.
And try to be authentic in where we come from. And if we have relatable stories, uh, you know, we get a diverse age range too that come in. We get our boomers, we get our 50s, 40s, 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and both sides of the political ideology, and a lot of independents. And that's where we have these really dynamic conversations. And I'm not going to dismiss somebody just because they live in the UK or Australia, that they can't have an opinion on what's going on, or what's the discourse going on in the United States, because ultimately what goes on here kind of impacts everybody else in the world. So
Yep.
they have every right to share their opinion and their thoughts just as much as anybody here. And that's been cool to behold. And that's where we've really started to grow the community as far as the wide swaths. Um, the other thing is just because when I call it networking, I'll go into other people's spaces, and I'll get on their panel, and I'll share that, or I have the ability to completely change the direction of a large space. I've been known to do that, but it's not intentful or not, but it just happens. But then a lot of people will follow me from those, and then they'll start coming in around the spaces that I host, and then then they stick around because, like, man, I really liked what you said there. And then they see how we run our spaces, and you know we try to give everybody a mic if they are willing to speak. And we're not gonna do the echo chamber thing, which a lot of these people get in their little habits, like you kind of alluded to earlier, where you would go to these bigger spaces and it's the same people on the panel every time.
Every time, dude. And it's
And
just like, and it gets boring. It's like you don't even want to step up and speak, because it's like you're walking into a friend group that is going to judge you. Like I've seen it, I've heard it, I should say, on, I won't say any names, but like some fairly large accounts hold spaces, and someone will come in with maybe a slightly dissident kind of opinion on what the consensus is there in that panel, and they'll just festoon the walls with this person, and they'll take turns taking shots at the individuals. Like, but then they still have a couple hundred people that tune in every day, and I don't understand it. I mean, whereas like your spaces, there's others too. I mean, Smitty, I mean, like there's many good spaces out there, but the frequency in which I witness people that are not part of that, let's say, community, when they hop in and they want to say something and it's a divergent opinion to what that is trying to be espoused there, they just get knocked out. And then you'll start seeing people fall off, and then you go on the space the next time, there's less people there. And I've started seeing that happen recently. Have you been witnessing that too on certain spaces where you're
Yeah,
seeing the listenership is kind of falling off because there's more yeah, go ahead.
no, absolutely. I've seen that, and don't get me wrong. I have my fair share of I call them disruptors, where
Yeah.
they will come in immediately. The second they get a mic, they raise their hand. They don't even know what the topic is, and then they just want to be a disruptor. And I take those in stride. I give them a fair shake. But if their intent is just to completely be disruptive, or we have people that will come in, and as soon as they get a mic, they will porn bot the jumbotron at times or something like that, or they want to shout out an expletive that I'm like, no, we're not going to do that here. We handle those people in kind. But if there's somebody that's genuine, that's actually interested in listening to the conversation, then we welcome everybody. But that's just spaces. I think you're going to have those disruptors, but
Trolls are going to troll always.
Yeah, trolls are going to troll regardless. And I think being an effective space host is being able to have those people come in, but not let it impact you. I try to, my philosophy too, in that regard, is I never assume what people have going on in real life or their personal life. And sometimes people will come to spaces and they want to vent. And sometimes they will take their frustrations out. I also go with the modus of I'll give you respect, but I also expect respect in return.
Right.
And if you can't show me or my co-host the respect that we're giving you, then we take issue with that. And I don't think that's a whole lot to ask to run a smooth and effective space. And 95% of the people are respectful. And it's just that 5% that you kind of know, and the names get familiar. And I'm like, okay, when certain people come in, we'll let this go for a little bit. It'll be fun. But, that can turn people off too. And they're like, okay, somebody completely bogarted the space. We were having an awesome conversation, and they just come in and just wham, bam. And then they just won't stop talking. And it just like, that's the modicum of respect there. It's like, hey, everybody has, other people have hands on. Like, I like to have a free flow conversation, but if the room gets rowdy enough, then we're just going to go to hands. And I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But it's funny, and we're all adults that get on these things, and some of the people that act like toddlers, if they don't get to speak right away or whatever. But you talked and alluded to earlier some of these other big spaces where you have to raise your hand and it takes 45 minutes to an hour before you even get called.
Exactly.
That's not for me anymore. And I don't think it is for a lot of people.
No, totally. What was I going to ask you? So on spaces, like, so, as a host, building communities, what is like, what, like, I'm not trying to make it an interview. I'm just curious, since I got you here, what's your favorite topic to talk about? Like, what's the thing that you like when you're going to set up a theme for a space? Like, what's the theme that you enjoy the most that probably elicits the most like attention to, like people jump in on that specific topic? What would that topic be?
Of late, it's been our men's spaces because that's a niche. It's a niche that's
Yeah,
not discussed. Men's empowerment, men's community, men's rights in regards to the courts.
man, I learned a lot on that last one about
We
the courts. I
men's
was
are
shocked.
men aren't equal citizens in the eyes of the courts anymore, and
Right.
you know, I have a lot of passion for that, as does my co-host with that regard. We're very passionate about that topic because it's not discussed. Parental rights, how that gets impacted if you're a male. You can be the perfect citizen, and if you blink at your ex the wrong way, you get penalized, and it's not fair in the eyes of the court. And I've seen a lot of good men fall as a result of that, and the alienation that takes place, not just by, and I'm not going to subjugate it to just women, but women have weaponized children in a lot of regards. So that's a topic that I've been very passionate about. There's other things too, like we hosted a space in regards to AI, specifically Oracle, and that the impact that such a big organization and what they're doing with all the data centers they're constructing and all that, and the evolution of AI and how that's going to impact general society. Like, that was a topic that that we put a lot of research devotion to, and that was very well received. And yeah, it just depends. I guess it could be the flavor of the week.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, I like to discuss politics with just about anyone, but I can't do it every day, and I'm not going to ascribe that I want to do it weekly even, because I think the temperament of a lot of people nowadays is we're just fatigued with the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of disappointment. There's been a lot of things that we got on board to support to get the current administration in office that hasn't come to fruition. We haven't seen the promises that were made during the campaign come to light, and we've seen kind of a 180 in the direction that a lot of these things are going, and that's kind of soured me in a little bit of the political topic, because it is so divisive at the same time. It's a very divisive topic, and there's subsects of even right-leaning people where you're in one camp or the other, and you're
Which is
either
mind-blowing to me that we've gotten to this point.
You're either like pure devotion to the man, or you're devoted to the principles and the policies that we put him in office for.
Exactly.
And there's a huge disconnect right now that's going on, and when that topic definitely comes up, that's where you start to see like differences of opinion, and it's consistent with we got some people that are older, and they have their way of thoughts. You got some of us that aren't as old, and we have a difference of opinion on how we want to see things. And it ultimately comes down to what we want the best for our kids. We want the best for our futures, and maybe some of the lens which those people are seeing, that they don't take those things into consideration as much as what we would. And
Agreed.
as a host, I try to do my best as being a contrarian. I want to see everybody's point of view, and I'm reluctant to actually give my my official views on certain things because I want to try to maintain decorum and respect in the room. But yeah, I see it. We all see it, and I share that from time to time, but I try to do it in a manner to which it's conveyed in a respectful manner, to where I'm not throwing shade or insults. But I keep going back to, we can agree to disagree, but we're still going to be friends. We're still going to have respect. Yeah, and if I show that consistency, then I think I'm ahead.
I agree, man. Diversity of thought is important, especially like you said. It's just like it feels very black pilling on certain topics, and being able to break out of that. I feel like we're being encased in these topics too. Like we're being entrapped into them, right? Like there's a snare that we're being led to by engaging in the division. But like having a variety of discussions, like talking about men's mental health, what men go through in today's society with after Me Too, after neo feminism, and not casting shade on women. I'm just saying these are real things that have happened in modern American society, in the West in particular, that has, I mean, it's castrated a lot of men. I'm sorry to say that. Or gives them the feeling that they are, right. They feel emasculated, and they're not. And having a place where you can go vent and talk. Like, I mean, even myself, like I listen to like on that series you guys do, you and your co-host. Like when I hear some of the stories, it's like shit. Like at least this has happened to me. And I would have never had this like moment of self-reflection if it wasn't for having the ability to join that conversation or listen to it, right?
Well, yeah, with like there was like some stats that were shared in that conversation where it was like 33% of the Zoomer generation aren't having sex.
It's insane.
62% of men are single now. But you're also seeing that with women, where women are, it's a matter of expectations, not meeting demand.
Yeah.
There's variances of opinion
it's
where
material demand too.
Women are saying that men aren't adding up to what they desire, but at the same time, men have given up because of this false sense of expectation that women have set the standard for. I don't know. The same thing can be said in regard to politics. Where I get a little miffed is that we agree on 92%, 95% of everything, but there's this one topic that you disagree with. Then you start seeing people, oh, you're castigated from this movement. You're not a this or that because you don't agree with me on everything. Since when is it not okay to have your own opinion and to question things?
Because everything's being homogenized, right? So like it's homogeneity. It's just like everything has to be nice, well put together boxes that you have to fit into. And F that, man. Like punk, we need to go back to like the middle finger to everything, which I'm seeing it now. Like I don't get it at the office, right? Like if I go to work, I might have like one or two people I could talk to like relatively freely, but then everyone's afraid to have a conversation at work because you might think someone, and to your point, I've seen it. Okay. I'm speaking from experience, not personally, but I've seen this happen where we all get along and we're going for like, you're going post lunch walk, a couple guys are smoking cigarettes. I'm probably vaping. We're going for like the block walk. Right. And then some guy says something, counter to the common, belief in that conversation. Next thing I know, that individual that made that comment is getting like a HR email filed against them. for speaking inappropriately at work about something. And it's like, dude, we have talked about all this shit for months. And like now, like everyone's scared. It's like there's no trust, you know?
Yeah, I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. If just because I may not agree with a certain country's government in the Middle East and
Yeah.
how they're conducting themselves and how they're dragging the United States into that excursion,
Yeah.
that doesn't, because I don't agree with that. That doesn't mean that I should be labeled, the anti whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
It
and it
doesn't
doesn't
mean
even mean you
I'm not
dislike the
against.
people.
I'm not
You don't
against.
you don't agree with the government. That's the thing. But it's like one thing has to lead to the other. You can disagree with the government of a place, but then it gets generalized as you must hate everything about that place. It's like, no, I don't like the leader. I don't like what they're doing, and you're generalizing everything as one thing. It's not. Life has nuance. It's shades of gray.
Yeah,
But like we've
exactly.
lost that, you know. But like when it comes to like I see it only in spaces, man. I don't see it in my real life conversation outside of my homies, right? Like my close friends, you know, that I can trust. You know, we can talk about whatever. We don't agree with everything, but we can shoot the shit and disagree and have a great time disagreeing, you know? But like casual, normal conversation with people that you're kind of lukewarm with, it doesn't exist anymore, dude. You can't do it anymore. Like it's so polarized now. It's
It
hot
is.
or cold, on or off. Um, and then you hop online, and what you used to get from like go putting on a nice polo, putting on some pants and a couple sprays of cologne and throw a hat or fix your hair, you go out for the night with a group of friends and meet some other random people. That I don't see it anymore. Even
It,
when I like you know, we have a company, we have a business, like my wife and me, and some of our clients are in like the, you know, the bar scene area, right?
yeah.
So by the time we're finishing up work, um, you know, closing up whatever we're doing, it's like it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. So then we're right by the bars, dude. It's just clicks. Like when I used to go to the bars, it was just this mess of people, just like 50 people shoulder to shoulder. Everyone's talking, random people, and then like random people go outside, smoke a cigarette, and have a conversation. Next thing you know, you made a new friend. I don't see it. It's like it doesn't exist because everyone has to fit in these little boxes. But then online, I hate to say this because I never thought I would. I was always against this shit, social media. You know, my whole life. I mean, before Twitter X, whatever the hell you want to call it, I was only on Instagram. I was just like a story scroller. That's all I did, you know? And then I would have to say the only real platform that and it's going through its problems right now. You know, you know, we've talked about it in the past. I won't bring it up right now, but you know, the platform that we're on with, you know, with X, it's going through its problems right now
Oh
in
yeah.
some degrees.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I didn't even fail to mention. I don't want to get off topic here, but back in September of last year, I caught another permanent suspension as a result of the algorithm. Uh, I happened to be in a space and there's bots that cloned my account, my same profile pic, and the XAI algorithm caught my account in that, and then it had me do like a captcha to verify I am who I am, and I am a monetized account that can get subscribers. I pay for premium, and as soon as I put my relevant data that they asked for, within 2 minutes I get an email. I get kicked out and says my account's been permanently suspended. Now, I was fortunate enough that I screen grabbed that stuff while it was happening in real time, and I had an alt account already established, so I was still able to stay on the platform, but I was definitely minimalized, where my reach was drastically reduced, and a lot of people in my mutuals that would know me, they had no clue who I was just by looking at my alt, and so in most cases, people are, oh, this is just another, this is not the real me. This is not the real Smitty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to file 21 appeals over 31 days.
Jeez.
To where I finally was able to get my account back. And I'm one of the very few, because usually when accounts catch a permanent suspension, and it was under it said the reason for my permanent suspension that time was inauthentic behavior. And I said, what is inauthentic? I'm a blue check. I paid. I had already given my driver's license information as a premium account that's monetized, if you will. So they already have all this pertinent information, but they were still able to take my account on because I got bot spammed like that. And I was fortunate because, like, when most accounts do get suspended, 96% of the time that account's gone for good.
It's crazy.
And when Elon first bought this, saying that nobody would get suspended, they might just get a timeout or something like that. That hasn't been the case, and that's been unfortunate. Yeah. But they're always constantly updating the algorithm, and they're always fine tuning it, which has been disappointing because there's been times where I noticed, oh man, they hit the sweet spot. It's working perfectly. And then they go in and change it again, and it's damn near impossible to figure out what's effective, what's not, what gets you reach, what doesn't. I take it in stride, and I'm just going to be my authentic self and how I post, how I do spaces, and as long as I stay true to that, then the rest will take care of itself.
No, totally, man. I think that's a pretty good spot to land it on too. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to share this conversation. It's been great.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll do another conversation sometime soon on maybe more, like just some sort of random other topic. Like maybe we could talk about how UGA is the greatest college football team, and the SEC is king, right? We could talk about that maybe one day.
We all know that the SEC is fraudulent conference. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that'd be great. We could do that for sure.
Cool. Hey, Smitty, thanks, man. I appreciate your time. This was great. I know we went off topic a little bit, but it was a fun conversation, so I appreciate it. Folks, if you're watching at this point in the episode, please do make sure to give Smitty a follow at Smith CPS 01. That's at Smith CPS 01 on X. Definitely, if you do give Smitty a follow, you have to check out his spaces. They're legitimately, and I'm not just saying this because Smitty and me are buddies, some of the best spaces you're going to find on X. And through Smitty, you'll meet some really cool people that also host fantastic spaces. So if you're looking for another form of, getting like some sort of like auditory entertainment, podcasts are getting boring and the TV sucks and you don't want to pay for Netflix anymore, come on over to the Spaces community and check out Smitty's topics. So appreciate it. And don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment, like, please. Subscribe, comment, like, do it so we can grow. Do it. And I can get y'all more people, more Smitty time, more Miss time, more other people. We're, as you guys know, we're focusing on smaller accounts. My goal is to just bring forward to you guys the just genuine people that are not like shills, or just real people that have no ulterior motives. No one's going after monetary gain here. We are all doing this because we enjoy it. And Smitty is a fantastic account to follow. So please do make sure to give him a follow, and give me a follow on X at MNBFY pod. Dude, I'll never get it right. I screwed myself with that handle. That's MNBFY pod on X. So yeah, Smitty, thanks.
You're one of the most insightful guys on the platform, and we're going to get you growing. And
man,
appreciate it again. This is a great conversation.
Awesome, man. Great. Well, everyone, thank you. Have a great night. I'm probably going to actually get this one out today, Smitty. So y'all should see this on May 8th. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Take care, all.